Welcome aboard the Ear to There podcast, the podcast that'll help you vacation like a pro in any Disney destination. For those of you standing, please sit down and hold on throughout our journey and get ready to learn how to have the time of your life. And now, here's your host, Phil Gramlich.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ear to There podcast. I'm your host, Phil Gramlich. I'm also the owner and operator of Ear to There Travel, a Disney specialized travel agency. I'm not going to waste any time this week. We're going to get right into the show because this one turns out to be kind of a long one. So, as you probably already know, downtown Disney is gone. In its place is Disney Springs. And while I've wanted to do an episode about Disney Springs for an awful long time, I wanted to wait till it was pretty much complete before giving my thoughts on it. So this week, we're going to talk all about the top things to do at Disney Springs. Here to talk about Disney Springs with me is a frequent guest to the show. He's an annual pass holder and a dad who spends a lot of time in the old downtown Disney with his wife and kids. As a matter of fact, he was once called up on stage to be a part of the show at the Old Adventurers Club. Johnny Shortsleeve, welcome back to the show.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it. You only got half of the story. Like, whatever your source was, is that all you got on that one? There's something else to that story.
That was the only part of the story that I got. So
I got shamed in front of the whole crowd at the Adventurers Club, and I was told to get off the stage because I just couldn't get it together. I had a couple of liquid refreshments in me.
A couple of waters.
A couple of, yes. I don't know. It's just water, Sprite. I don't know what was going on in there. So a couple of adult beverages in me. And I was brought onto the stage to help with the act they were doing. And they said, raise your right hand. And I raised my left hand. And they looked at me like, all right, funny guy. No, raise your right hand. So I dropped my hand and raise your right hand. I did the same thing. I raised my left hand. I was thinking, why are they being such jerks to me? And then they're like, get off the stage. And I was like, I went to my wife and I said, what did I do? She said, are you serious? I don't know what happened. My brain just got totally crisscrossed. So I got shamed and I literally didn't feel comfortable ever going back. That was my last time at the Adventurers Club ever. Shamed off the stage.
It could have been worse, right? I mean, it could have been, I don't know. Actually, it probably couldn't have been worse. That's pretty bad.
They probably profiled me and thought, oh, this guy's loaded. He's probably gonna Ralph all over us. Let's get him off the stage and get him ready, get a mop and bucket ready for this guy.
And then you were escorted out of. Now I almost call it Disney Springs for back then. That you were escorted out of downtown Disney, and that's why they closed the entire thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, everybody. I know you all loved the old Pleasure Island. I'm the one that stunk it up for everybody.
Yep, started throwing up outside. They had to close it.
Yeah. That's why they don't have bushes out there anymore. It's just all drains.
All right, man. Well, thanks again for joining me. And these are always fun. And I was saying we were just talking off before I hit the recording, and I said we gotta hit record because you and I can go on long enough. We gotta start recording and get going on the list.
Well, what's your opinion? I think we're gonna do this in one take because I think our last one we had to break it into two parts, didn't we?
Yeah, I think that was the last one.
We'll see if we can keep this to a one-part session here.
We'll see what happens. We both get going about Disney. We could talk until the morning. So
it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
All right, so. Here's the thing about Disney Springs, right? I think it went from being downtown Disney and kind of being, Pleasure Island and the marketplace and the West Side, like three completely different vibes, completely different reasons to go to them. And then it became this kind of destination now. Like now it's like a place you go to. And it's not just a place where you go on your last day on your vacation, when you're waiting for your ride to the airport, when you don't have any park hoppers left. It's actually a thing that you make it, you mark it down in your calendar to go there now. It's actually a destination. I mean, what do you think about do you agree, disagree?
I agree 100%. And I would add to that, I've heard a lot of people say it's like the fifth theme park now. Like, right. It's like a food and shopping and entertainment theme park. And I think that's a really good way to look at it. And I agree. I used to be that person. I used to be the person when I would travel here on vacation, say, all right, let's carve out one night where we're going to just go down there for a few hours and poke through the shops and maybe grab a quick bite to eat. And that's that. But now, it's something where you can easily spend a full day or more As you know, a lot of the locals like me, we like to go and hang out there a lot more, sometimes more than we do in the parks because there's so much to do now. Yeah. And wait, before I keep going, this just hit me. I realized I need to correct something from a prior podcast. Can I get the mic for a quick second?
Absolutely.
I made a huge mistake on a recent podcast you and I did. We were talking about Dunkin' Donuts coffee, and I said how they used to have the Dunkin' Donuts coffee at the old Hess station at the Transportation and Ticket Center. Right. And then when they changed it over to a Speedway, I said it's gone. Well, that's what somebody told me. And just the other day I was down there and I walked actually into the little mart that they have at the Speedway, and there it is. The Dunkin' Donuts coffee is still there. So if you're a Northeasterner or anybody else who needs a little break from the Starbucks or the Joffrey's, find an Uber or somehow get yourself over to the gas station over there. You can get yourself some Dunkin' Donuts coffee. It's still there.
Yeah, or if you run one of the Run Disney races, you run right past it. You can run in. It might be a little difficult to run with a cup of coffee in your hand. But you could stop in if you wanted to, I guess.
Cup of coffee and then like a sleeve of donuts.
A sleeve. You know what? I was just thinking when you were saying that with the Dunkin' Donuts thing. See, this is why we take forever to get to our podcast. When you were saying the Dunkin' Donuts thing,
now it all makes sense.
Yeah, right. My wife and I recently drove with our kids up to Connecticut to see my father-in-law, her dad, obviously, and he has a place up in Connecticut. And we took like the scenic route the one day because the roads were all backed up and it was busy. So we went through all these little towns and these, they weren't highways. It was more like just the main roads of the towns and the cities. I never noticed how many Dunkin' Donuts there were. Until we took this drive. We started counting them. It was insane. There was like every mile there was a Dunkin' Donuts on these roads. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I guess maybe in New England, are there more of them in New England? I don't know. There was a lot of Dunkin' Donuts up there. I think it originated in Massachusetts and Boston or something. I'm pretty sure. But
yeah, I mean, well, I all of my friends who are from the New England area, that's what they swear by. And down here, it's like Starbucks in every corner. It's becoming like that in the parks too. There's a lot of Starbucks that obviously are around, but yeah, so that's good to know if you're somebody who, if you're brand loyal to Dunkin' Donuts, you can get your Dunkin' Donuts fix at Walt Disney World. You just gotta just be a little slick on how you get over there.
Yeah. And
maybe what you can do is you can call Enterprise and pretend you're renting a car. You know how they come pick you up at your hotel?
Yeah, we pick you up.
Yeah, I want to rent a car for that. I'll pick you up. And which is literally in spitting distance of the car care center or the gas station there. So you just walk over, get your Dunkin' Donuts, and then you just pretend you just turned a car in and say, yeah, take me back to the yacht club. Please don't anybody do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
That's horrible.
All right, man. Well, let's get going here. You go first for your first one. We'll stop talking about Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah. All right.
Your first favorite or top place in Disney Springs is?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what I did on my list here. Sure. So what I did was I tried to keep my list to the new things about Disney Springs. So as if you're somebody who hasn't been to Disney Springs yet when it's been called Disney Springs, or it's been a few years when you were in downtown Disney last, a lot has changed. So I'm trying to keep my list to that stuff. So I'm not going to talk about things that were there and have been there forever. So the first thing I want to bring up, which for me as a local, it makes a lot of sense, but even I think it can make a lot of sense too for the guests who are staying on property. It's got to be the infrastructure has improved tremendously at Disney Springs. Because I remember when I was a guest staying on property, it was a little bit of a hassle to get in and out of Disney Springs because the traffic was terrible. The bus routes were kind of weird in and out of there. They fixed that. It's a huge improvement. They got these two massive parking garages there now, so cars are zipping in and out. They're not sitting there hawking spaces and blocking up Buena Vista Drive trying to get into the parking lots, the surface lots that were there. They have separate bus lanes that are in the middle of Buena Vista Drive now. So if you're a guest on property and you're taking the complimentary transportation on the buses, you're getting that's like a fast pass to get down to Disney Springs now because you have these little center bus lanes. They don't really have to worry about the traffic lights as much as us regular traffic has to worry about. They have these pedestrian bridges that are up now. So that used to be a big thing that would also clog up the traffic, is pedestrians would have to walk across Buena Vista to park, in those surface lots across once the other ones got filled. Those lights were so long. So now, having those pedestrian bridges has freed up the traffic. So it's a lot easier to get in and out of there. It's no longer as big of a hassle to get there and enjoy everything that they have. It sounds crazy that that's my first thing, but to me, that was always one of those things I was like, oh man, it's just such a pain to get down there. That's not the case anymore. So I really want to, and I know people are going to say, no, it's still a pain to get down there. Believe me, it's way easier now to get in and out of Disney Springs than it used to be, even just a couple years ago. So that's my first thing. Number one that stands out to me.
Yeah, what's funny is before they started the construction on Disney Springs itself and the parking structures and all that, it was even when it was Downtown Disney and it was still functioning as it did a few years ago, I almost, especially if I had a car, I hated going because there were things, even though there were shops I wanted to get to over there, restaurants I wanted to get to over there, trying to find a parking spot in those lots, it was impossible. Sitting in those lights to try to get into the lots took 20 minutes. It's so much better now. You're right about that. And it's safer. It was, there were accidents there. There was, you would get road rage sitting in your car waiting to get into the lot or I remember trying to find a parking spot, just driving up and down in those lots for, 25 minutes and being like, you know what? This is dumb. I'm out of here. I'm not even, we're going to play mini golf and getting out of here because you're right. It was a really big headache to get there until recently.
Yeah, and they used to have 3 different stops over there, and now they kind of consolidated a little bit. And I've talked to a bunch of people who were staying on property who were using the complimentary transportation to Disney Springs with the buses, and they said, it was easy, in and out, fast. And and that's the thing. When you hear about all the road issues and the pedestrian bridges and the cars and the parking, you think, hey, it doesn't apply to me. I'm staying on property. No, it does apply to you because that kind of stuff was making it hard for the buses to get in and out. And that's why it would take so long. It was such a pain to get down there.
Yeah, you're right. And if you, just a little tip, and this isn't, whatever, but if you stay at Saratoga Springs, you can actually request that building that's, I think it's, now I'm trying to remember. I think it's the Carousel. I think it's the Carousel is the closest walking distance to
staggering distance.
Yeah, to Disney Springs. It's with the new, pedestrian wooden bridge they put in. It takes the walk. It cuts it in half. So it's really a quick walk to Disney Springs now from there.
Yeah, when you were down here that one time staying there, you and I were hanging out, and we walked over there. I was shocked at how short of a walk that was.
Yeah, it's really short. Really, really short. Actually, now I think I lied. I think it's not the Carousel. It's Congress Park is the name of the section. That's what it is. The Carousel is a different section. Yeah, with the new bridge they put in, what do you think it is? Maybe a 5-6 minute walk between?
Oh, easily, yeah. Maybe not even. It depends on how much booze you have in your system.
Yeah, it used to be a 20-minute walk easy, but it's not anymore.
And help me out. It's a DVC property, Disney Vacation Club property. But if you're not a DVC member, can you still get a rack rate from there?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, but they have it's a little more expensive because they call them deluxe studios over there. So,
because of all this, the kitchenette and all that kind of stuff.
It has a little more amenities. You have the actual glasses, a microwave. The fridge is a tiny fridge still, but you have the sink, the microwave, all that. Yeah, the kitchenette, whatever that's what you want to call it. It's very small, but
it's nice though. Well, if you're over at Disney Springs and you're getting something to eat at the Boathouse or something, and you can't eat that whole mountain of food they give you, it's a 5-minute walk over to your room and throw it in the fridge and then snack on it at midnight.
Nuke it the next day. Yeah, the microwave in there.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little. So yeah, it's they're gonna charge you a little bit more for the deluxe studio villa, but it's worth it if you want to. Yeah, you want the microwave, you want the slightly bigger fridge, you want the actual glassware. I don't know why that would make a difference, but it's there. All right, so from the infrastructure to me, and I want to go right with you just said the Boathouse. So it's on my list. So I'm going to go with the Boathouse. It's one of my favorite things. Since that restaurant was planned and when it was opened, all I heard from people, from my friends who were locals, were, you got to get to the Boathouse, right? So last year when I was down for the Star Wars Dark Side Half Marathon, I went with a couple of friends over to the Boathouse. I did not bring my wife and kids. I was horrible. I called it a business trip, right? That's what a load of, what that is.
Yeah.
But, it was. I went and I did a lot of the restaurants and things that I couldn't do, that we wouldn't take the kids to. So I did do the Boathouse. I had to say, it was awesome. I was actually surprised with how good the food was. I expected it to be good, and it really did exceed my expectations. I remember I got the people were like, get a steak, and I love steak, but I wanted to try something different. So I went completely different and got the steak sandwich.
Oh yeah, there you go.
It was really, really good.
I thought you were going to say like sushi or something, like some fish or.
No. I was setting you up there. So I went and I got I did get a fish for an appetizer. We got the firecracker shrimp, I heard. By the way, I'm looking at my list. This is how much of kind of a dope I can be sometimes. I wrote shrimps on my list. I put a plural.
Yeah.
I guess I was typing my notes out kind of quickly. Anyway, I did get the firecracker shrimps as an appetizer. They were great as well. One thing that stood out to me about the Boathouse, besides like the decor, which is, really, really, it's just a nice, like elegant restaurant. I didn't expect that. But the service was something that really stood out to me. Normally the service in Disney table service restaurants is very good. I don't ever really, I know people complain about some certain things, and any server can have a bad night. I was a server for a while in, high school and college and even a little after that in my 20s. Like servers can have bad nights. I never, put a whole lot of stock into that. The service at this place, it was beyond Disney table service restaurants. It was, I got up to use the bathroom. I came back. My napkin was folded on my chair. I was like, whoa, I'm not used to this kind of service at a Disney restaurant, So I was just, the server that we had was, I wish I could remember her name, super knowledgeable, recommended a wine for our appetizer and our dinners, our entrees. And when I explained to her that I would be getting a beer, she recommended a beer that would pair with my food, which is very cool. Uh-huh. So I love that. I love the kind of attention to detail that they did there. And after we had our dinner, we walked outside to the outdoor, the dock bar outside on the water. That was amazing. It's a really cool place. They have TVs out there. You can kind of feel like you're on the water, really. You go sit at the bar. You can have a drink. I think they serve their appetizers out there at the bar as well. And then you can walk around on the docks, and they have these antique boats all docked outside the restaurant on the water. And I believe they're like on loan from museums and private collectors around the country. So they're really like actual antique boats that they have docked out there. They have little like placards that talk about the year of the boat, when it's from. And it's a really cool experience just to kind of take your time and go through all that. So yeah, man, the Boathouse, I would say one of my definite must-dos if you're going to Disney Springs.
While you were telling me that, I was trying to think, have I spoken to anyone yet who went there and said it was all hype? It wasn't everything that everyone had been talking about, or they didn't like it. And I can't honestly think of anyone who's said that. It seems like that's one of those ones, and it's been open for like, a year or so now?
A little more, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so I've talked to a lot of people who've been there, and I think that's the consensus. 100% of everyone I've spoken to said absolutely phenomenal. It just knocked their socks off. So you picked a good one there.
Yeah, man, I think it's the same for me. I've had some clients go. Obviously, the friends that I was with that night and some other friends that have been there have said the same thing. I've never seen. I've the only things that I've read that weren't like stellar are on, the Yelp reviews online, and I look at those sometimes just for the fun of it. But
Yelp is an awesome place for people who have an axe to grind.
Yeah,
and
exactly
I think it's more of a sport thing. I think for Yelp, for people to say, let me see how crazy I almost said something else. How crazy I can be.
We can edit.
want you to keep that G rating here.
Yeah, right.
How crazy I can be, or how nasty I can be, and kind of be funny about it in their own kind of morose way. So I kind of read that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, but truly, that's the only bad reviews I've ever seen for the place. So I think, if you're going, if someone's going to ask me, if a client's going to ask me or a friend, is it worth it to go? I just wholeheartedly would say, yeah, without a doubt. It's that good.
I'd love to see if I could go in there and like give them like a wink and a smile and say, hey, can I get one of those baked Alaskas to go, and just put it on a stick so I can just like a big lollipop, just walk down Disney Springs, just working it. That'd be a good time.
I'd like to see you try, actually. I think when we have a challenge.
Sounds like a challenge to me.
Yeah, January. We'll see if we can make it happen.
Yeah, January, it's freezing there. I want to do it when it's like, hot summer. So really force me to work it fast so it doesn't melt all over me.
How about April? Does April work? Still cool?
That's good enough.
All right, we'll try it in April then. All right, man, you're up for your next one.
All right, I think I'm gonna have to turn in my dude card on this one, but I think it's a good point.
Wouldn't it be the first time on the show that you had?
Yeah, not thinking about it, man. I really need to go out in the garage and fix something. Just break something on purpose and then go fix it so I can just get some man points back.
Do you want to do karate in the garage? Yup.
Step Brothers, man. I got that reference.
Yeah,
nice job.
That's a great movie. Anyway, sorry.
Surprised they didn't win the Oscar. So they got ripped off. Shopping, there's a great non-Disney shopping to do at Disney Springs. And the reason why I put that as second on my list is because I know there's going to be people who are going to be traveling with family members or friends and go, I'm just so over Disneyed here, and they need a little bit of a break. This is a great thing that maybe can be used even as leverage for someone who's trying to get that Disney vacation booked and who has a spouse or significant other or, family member, friend, whatever. It's like, I just can't take 100% of the time, just getting Disney hit at me from every angle. I know it sounds crazy, but those people do exist from what I've heard.
No.
Yeah, I know. It's like a mythical unicorn that's running through the woods. But so what they did was, now so they have this town square section, which is basically, if I haven't looked at a map, but I think it's basically the old parking lot of Pleasure Island is where they just, plowed it over and made this new part of Disney Springs where it's brand new construction, all new shops, and there's a couple of restaurants that are in there too. But a lot of them are not Disney related shops. So it's a lot of clothing, housewares, that kind of stuff. But the thing about like the clothing, which I think is interesting, is there's a lot of high end stuff in there, like stuff that I definitely can't afford, like Kate Spade and that kind of stuff. But they also have like some mid range stuff, like Columbia has a store in there, like the sportswear stuff, and they even have some stuff that's more like civilian price points, like definitely the stuff I can afford. Like there's this store called Uniqlo. I think that's how it's pronounced. Somebody can write in and say, this ding dong, he doesn't know how to say it. Uniqlo. It's pretty affordably priced clothing in there, but kind of neat and kitschy. I think there's even some Disney stuff that kind of they snuck in there too. There's some novelty stores in there, like the new Coca-Cola store. I was actually just there today walking around, and they had the bear who was doing like a meet and greet, that the polar bear. Right. But I'll tell you what, the rooftop bar at the Coca-Cola store, I didn't get anything there today, but just the view up there is absolutely amazing. It's just because it's like right in dead smack in the middle of the whole horn that is Disney Springs. So you kind of get to see things from all different angles. Awesome place to just go and hang out. And so from a shopping perspective, if you want to go there and indulge, you got a few bucks burning a hole in your wallet. That's a fun place to go shopping. Yeah,
man, you're right. I was actually shocked with how high end some of those stores are when I was there last time. Like we were walking around with our kids, my wife and I. And I remember reading about it, but I hadn't seen it. And it just seems so fancy, that little section. Like you're walking through it, I was like grabbing my kid's arms and be like, don't go near, don't touch it.
Don't even touch the glass on the door. Well, but here's the thing that's interesting is like, I think every major town or, metropolitan area has got those collection of stores, like their Galleria. It's got, Chanel and Tiffany. It's not that kind of stuff, but it's more, I mean, there are a few brands in that you will recognize, but there's a lot of ones too that I have never heard before. And it's not to say that I'm, Mr. Fashion, but, I think there are like boutique kind of stores that have some really cool stuff in there. Just, of course, me looking from the outside in, they take a look at me, and if I even tried to walk in there, they'd be hitting like that button on the counter, like, security, get this guy, security. he's here to rob the place.
I was thinking you were trying to go in and have your Pretty Woman moment.
Oh,
the big mistake.
Yeah,
I know the girls, the women that are listening right now are like, oh yeah, when she's on Rodeo Drive and the lady refuses her service, and she comes in a couple days later and she's like, I was here a few days ago. You wouldn't serve me. Big mistake. Huge.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Is Jean-Claude Van Damme in that movie?
Yeah.
Is Steven Seagal in that movie?
Dude, you pulled a Steven Seagal reference. I think we got to end the podcast right now.
Hey man, no one rocks a widow's peak like Steven Seagal.
Out for Justice and Mark for Death, and what else did he do? Hard to Kill.
It's back at it, man.
I used to love those movies.
He's got something else coming out new. I mean, it's going straight to DVD. I think it didn't even get Blu-ray play.
Gotta be 70 at this point, right?
I don't know, but I think he could still throw down. I take that back. I mean, do it offline. I'll tell you a funny story about Steven Seagal. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Steven Seagal and Pretty Woman. Yeah, that was a great movie. A lot of kickboxing and sweeping the leg, Johnny kind of stuff. Great movie.
So no, but you're right there, man. There is a lot of cool. There's a lot of cool shopping. There's a lot of high end stuff, and that is a reason for, if you have a lady or a gentleman in your life that enjoys the finer, stores and shops, and it would be a nice place to go. Yeah. I'm the same way. I get my clothes at Kohl's and Target and Old Navy, and whenever I see a Disney shirt at Target, I buy it. That's me. That's how much.
Yeah.
Like, I might.
Nothing wrong with that, man. I have no shame in that game.
I have a man-child wardrobe. Like it's jeans and Disney and sports and Star Wars T-shirts, and then whenever we're going out to dinner, I'm like to my wife, "Do I have to wear like something with a collar?" And she's like, "Yeah, you do. Like you look an idiot. You can't wear your Coca-Cola T-shirt."
But it's vintage.
I got this in the '90s. All right. So, but you're right about the shopping. So I want to do the same thing I did last time. I'm going to stick with the shopping, and I'm going to go to somewhere that's a little bit older, something that's been there in the Disney Springs area before it was Disney Springs. And I'm going with the World of Disney store. The reason I'm going with this is you're going to say, people who are listening to this right now are like, listen, I've been to that store 100 times. It's whatever. It's everything you think it is. It's an enormous 50,000. That's right. 50,000 square foot store. That number, by the way, when I looked that up, is insane to me that there's 50,000, but it's a real number. What I love about the store is exactly kind of what I said with the opposite of earlier in the podcast when I said Disney Springs isn't the place you go on your last day when you're out of Park Hoppers. But if you happen to, and you need to get any kind of souvenir that you saw all week on your vacation in the parks, they'll have it there. I mean, that store has every single Disney souvenir you could ever think of. It's amazing. It's huge. It's all broken up into different rooms. I'll try to think of the rooms now. There's like a villain's room, a princess room. There's
a man-child room.
It
has like a portrait of you on the wall.
I forgot all about the man-child room. There's like the Snow White room that has like baby clothes, and the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique is. I don't think it's still there. And they moved that, right?
Yeah, I think outside. They moved
it. That's in its own little location now at Disney.
Yeah, like it expanded. Like the store wasn't big enough as it is.
Right.
They made it even bigger.
But you know what? That's great though, because there's so many people that want to get into the one in the Magic Kingdom, and it's so hard to get in there that it's nice that they have an alternative to do that kind of thing. But I remember back in the day when this store, had all the CDs and then all the big huge DVD room and all that, and now they've kind of lessened that stuff. You can't go in and there's not like 400 different CDs you can buy, but it's like I said, if you want to find any kind of hat, any kind of shirt, coffee mug that you saw at the Emporium, but you can't get back into Magic Kingdom that day, That's where you go to get it. They have every souvenir you really could ever think of. And yeah, you do all your shopping. You do, your Christmas shopping in there. And what's great about these stores is if you are there on like in the middle of your trip, really any Disney location or shopping location. I'm not quite sure about the higher end stores at Disney Springs, but you can have your purchases sent back to your resort, and it's really nice. You don't have to carry them around all day. If you go shopping there, at World of Disney in the morning, and you're, jumping from there to lunch and then to a park later, you don't have to lug it around. Whatever you buy around all day, you can get it sent back to your resort. So,
and kind of a cool thing. On top of that, something that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, and this is like groundbreaking discussion here. Like this is why people come to this podcast, is because we lay down this kind of info. So how with the package shipping service, you're staying at a Disney resort hotel, you go there and you buy a bunch of cool stuff at World of Disney. Say, you know what, ship it back to my hotel. I don't want to lug it around. It gets there the next day. If you're staying at a club level room, and don't quote me on this, people, but quote me on this, because I haven't stayed in a club level room in a few years. If you're staying in a club level room at one of like the deluxe hotels, like the Polynesian or the Grand Floridian, Wilderness Lodge, things like that, instead of going down to the gift shop, the main gift shop of your hotel to pick up your stuff, they bring it right to your room. So you come back one day after schlepping through the parks, and then bam, your bed is loaded up, or your table's loaded up with all your goodies right there waiting for you. So that's one of the many perks of getting a club level room.
Yeah, the in addition to the all the cool
free food, free fruit and free booze.
Yeah, that is a cool thing. I've only stayed in a club level room the one time, and it was through a cast member friend of mine who helped me out. And I think you and I talked about this before. I can remember they're like, yeah, it's happy hour, whatever it was, and I went out. And there's nobody in the room, there's no attendant or anything, and there's just this room full of hot and cold appetizers and a fridge full of beer and wine, and they're like, "Go ahead, help yourself." Really?
Yeah, really? Did you do that move where you lifted your shirt tail out and started loading it into there? Sir, we have plates.
Like a cartoon where I'm just
yeah, and they say you turn around, you have the chipmunk cheeks, you load it up.
Yeah, it was like, what's his name? Wimpy from Popeye. Cheeseburger. Just talking to people and it's flying everywhere.
That's the reason right there. Hey man, I love that choice, and I'll tell you why, for a number of reasons, but one reason I really like that choice is because it's literally, it was such a perfect setup to my third choice. We don't talk about these lists. If you're listening, you think this is all premeditated. No way. This is how we do it. It's just so funny how it works this way.
Simpatico right there.
Yeah, man. We were. It's amazing how that worked out, because my third choice was again shopping related. I'm sorry, more man points deducted from my account, but there is some Disney related shopping that's really interesting and unique at Disney Springs, because you're talking about World of Disney kind of having, it's like the place to get everything in one spot, which is very, very true. But there's some really unique Disney shopping things, shopping opportunities and experiences that you can't get anywhere else in the parks or in the resorts. You can only get them in Disney Springs. My personal favorite is the Marketplace Co-op.
Yeah.
It's kind of right next to World of Disney in its own little standalone building that shares with some other stuff, like guest relations and things like that. But they have this setup in there where I'm trying to think how many different areas. I think it's 6 different areas. Maybe it's 8. I can't remember. I get kind of lost in there. But they rotate pretty regularly the concepts that they're that they're highlighting, and that also means they're rotating the merchandise. And like I said, most of it's unique to things, unique to that spot. You can't find it elsewhere. I was just in there a few days ago, just walking through, and they had a whole luggage concept, a whole luggage section that I hadn't seen before. So it's just all cool, Disney and Marvel and Pixar kind of, luggage, travel kind of accessories, suitcases and other, the eye masks and all kinds of other cool, funky things that you'd need to make your travel more fun and exciting. Houseware things, clothing things, again, clothing items that you for the most part, I don't think you can find them anywhere else. There might be a few things that pop in and out of there that you can find in a couple of spots on property. Some technology things and like the iPhone cases and things like that. Collectibles, housewares, whatever. It's a fun, neat little setup that they have in there. It's definitely worth even just walking through if you're not in the mood to spend a whole lot of money, just to see what they've come up with. And there's like right next to it is also if you're staring at the front entrance of it to the left. For the life of me, I'm blanking. You'd think we'd do like some advanced prep for the show, wouldn't you? I mean, like I can't think of the name of the little. It's a woman's boutique next door, and it's like super funky women's clothes. Yes, that's it. Trendy. Like, how'd you know that?
I mean, I did my research.
Making me look bad.
I mean, this is my show, right? I got to do something.
You got to do it, man. Got to do it. Yeah. So there's and again, I don't go shopping for women's clothes, but I do go through the stores a lot just because I think it's fun to see what's out there. And it seems like with that little boutique, they have stuff that I've never seen in any of the parks or any of the resorts. So kind of a neat little thing to cruise through if you're somebody who says, I do want a Disney souvenir, but you know what? I don't want Mickey ears. I already have that. I want something unique and different. There's a lot of great places like that at Disney Springs.
Yeah, that store especially, and that one it's almost like they have like little mini stores inside the store because of the way you were saying they break it up into different sections and they rotate them. And what I really like about that place is the retro feel to some of the merchandise you can buy. Yeah, like they'll have the old school Disney logo, features sometimes, like the old D that they used to have in the parks, and the cursive D that they used to use, or they'll have the Orange Bird merchandise where you can buy like the replica Orange Bird, Sunshine Tree Terrace glass from the 70s. They'll have like different stuff like that you can buy that you definitely can't get anywhere but there. So that's really cool. That's a really good pick. I haven't spent enough time in there. I was going to have that on mine. And I kind of bunched my shopping into like, here's my, honestly, I went like food, and one store. Like, that's what I was thinking. That's representative to what it's like down there almost now. A lot of food. Yeah. I felt like a friend of, that we both had that.
I know him. I know that dude.
Always talks about the food.
Yeah, I love that dude. He's simpatico with us, man.
Yeah, he's a good dude, and you're right. And
we won't say his name because he hasn't paid for a plug.
That's a good point. He's not going to get a plug, that's for sure. But yeah, he always talks about the food. And when I was putting this list together, I was like, oh man, I can't think of anything else but the food. But yeah, that store is very cool, and it did replace the what was it called? The sports store, the Disney.
Oh, it's like a Wide World of Sports kind of thing. I know exactly what. Darn it, what was the name of that place? I forget the name
of the store now, but it was like they had Mickey Mouse golf shirts, and there was like the ESPN like footballs and Mickey footballs and
some team merchandise that was themed to Disney.
You just said it. It was Team Disney was the name of it, I think.
Oh, right? Well, hey, how about that?
Is that right? You just put it in my head. Anyway, so yeah, I kind of...
memory, man. That's impressive.
Yeah, I have this weird thing where I remember random...
You remember Disney stuff? That when your wife sends you to the grocery store to get milk, bread, and eggs, you come back with Slim Jim and beer and a copy of Auto Trader?
That's true. Although not Auto Trader. I don't know... You know what? I want to quote.
It's not Joe Dirt.
No, I want to actually quote Mitch Hedberg because I haven't done it in a while when we do these podcasts.
No, it feels like there's something been missing lately.
I know. So there's a great Mitch Hedberg joke where he says, "I'm going to try to do my Mitch Hedberg accent too," where he goes, "I know a lot about cars, man. I know it's a bad Mitch Hedberg.
I lost it. I couldn't even hold it in. Like just at the first line, and I'm already losing it.
It's a bad Mitch Hedberg accent, but I'm going to try it again. He says, "I know a lot about cars, man. I can look at a car's headlights and tell you exactly which way it's coming." That's how much I know about cars. Or he does another one where he says, I may have said this on a podcast before, so I apologize to everyone who's listening if I did, but I'll do another Mitch Hedberg accent when he says, "A I don't know much about cars. And he goes, if someone came to me and said the car couldn't start, I would say, well, maybe there was a killer after you.
Because it's a classic, like in all the old horror movies.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, it's not starting.
Yeah, he was brilliant, man.
And he's like a comedian's comedian, but he's I hate to say it, he's like accessible.
Yeah,
he's so funny.
It's a
I
shame.
love that guy.
It's a shame that he died as young as he did. It really is.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna have to pick my next one, and I'm gonna have to follow up my two Mitch Hedberg ripoff jokes. Look at my list. Okay, here's where I'm going. We're gonna stick with food, or I'm gonna go back to food, and I'm gonna go with one. And I'm not going far. I'm actually kind of in the same area where you were in Disney Springs. One of my favorite places ever to eat in all of Walt Disney World is one of the least fancy places in all of Walt Disney World. And I'm talking about Earl of Sandwich. I love that place, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Listen, for a quote unquote, I guess, fast food place, their sandwiches are some of the best sandwiches I've ever had anywhere in my life. They're phenomenal. I don't know if you haven't been there. It's just I don't know how many tables it has. Maybe 30, like little tables. There's always a line. It's always kind of a long line, but it moves quickly in there. It's a counter service restaurant. You kind of go in, you stand at the counter, you order your food, you wait for them to make it. They make it fresh. You pick it up, you sit down and eat. It's very much like a no frills. It's a chain place. I know I've seen it in airports and casinos. I say casinos because they have it there.
Because you hang out there.
I'm like Matt Damon and Rounders. I could be at the Taj in 20 minutes. But no, I am an hour from Atlantic City, so they had a couple of Earl sandwiches in. I told you I love comedy, right? So my wife and I were staying at casinos all the time because they draw these great comedians in to do the shows down there. They have big arenas, so I've seen, all my favorite comedians at the casinos in Atlantic City. Anyway, they had a few Earls of Sandwich. I don't know how you would say it, but like cul-de-sac for the plural of cul-de-sac. But I've seen a lot of comedians down there. But the Earl of Sandwich is, I love that place. I love their food. Their sandwiches, I can't really explain why they're so good. They just are. They're phenomenal. I love every sandwich on the menu. They have great Italian. My favorite sandwich, which isn't on the menu anymore, but it makes like an occasional seasonal return, is Cannonballs. And that was their meatball sandwich. I don't know why it was that so good, but it was phenomenal. So you walk in, you grab your drink, you grab your food, you sit down and eat it. And then you can walk next door to Once Upon a Toy and, walk off the 480 calorie sandwich you just ate. It's just a great place. It really is.
Yeah, I don't hang out at a lot of airports and casinos like you. I'm not a professional gambler. I just, for some reason, I have just tunnel vision. I thought that was the only one, but then I did realize eventually that they do have a bunch around. And somebody was coming in town and said, "Hey, you want to meet up somewhere?" I said, "Oh, let me see something different they haven't been. Let me try Earl of Sandwich." Like, we got one down the street from me. I was like, "Really?
I know.
Same place? It's Earl of Sandwich."
What's funny is that the first time I walked into that casino and I saw it, I was like, "What?"
Well, my friend lives next door to a casino, so maybe that's what it is.
Yeah,
no, I'm just joking. Did you ever see Don Rickles, by the way, at your casino travels?
I've not seen. I've seen him live. I'm not calling you old because we're the same age, so don't take this the wrong way. My grandfather has seen him and loves him, and he's 81.
Yeah, I'd love to see him. I think he's still funny.
I agree.
But to add on to your point, back to Earl of Sandwich, the holiday sandwich, the holiday turkey.
Oh my God, I forgot I was going to mention that one.
Yeah, I thought that's like a.
I should have gone. I don't know why I didn't go there. That's a phenomenal sandwich.
That was like an easy layup, but you just just kind of left the ball in the air, and I just grabbed it and did like a tomahawk dunk with it.
Yeah, that's a great sandwich.
Yeah, the turkey and the stuffing and the gravy and the cranberry. It sounds horrendous, but it works amazingly well. Yeah. And let me just say something real quick about Earl of Sandwich. I want to brace people, but I want to pay it a compliment at the same time. And when I say brace people, is if you're an ample gentleman like myself, you might go there and see that sandwich and go, "This is it. Is there more?" Like, because they're not like massive, huge hoagie heroes or whatever. You get up in your neck of the woods up there. It's a more modest sized sandwich, and it's kind of like a lunch place. You don't want to go crazy, especially if it's a hot day. You don't want to get really loaded down. But here's where the compliment comes in. I actually think the portion size is perfect because it allows you to, once you've gone and you walk around some more after you've eaten it, you're going to have some room for other stuff when you're down there. If you see something else, some other tasty victuals that you want to enjoy, you're not going to be too bogged down. Like, oh, I'm so stuffed after that monster $40 baked Alaska at the Boathouse. That's impossible. But with something like that, that's maybe a smarter play for lunch. Something like Earl's Sandwich. It's a great sandwich, great little spot, cool little place to hang out. And then, after you walk around for a couple hours, you have a little room for a little snack somewhere.
Yeah. Do you remember? You're talking about different places to go after Earl's Sandwich. Do you remember the precursor to the Cozy Cone Motel at Disney Springs? They had when it was downtown Disney, they used to have the food in a cone for a while there.
You know what? I never had it, but I remember people talking about it. So was it the same thing?
Yeah, it was a little bit different. They had different things. There was like a meatball parm in a cone, I think, and a couple other things. But I think it was it almost served as like a test kitchen to like Disneyland's or Disney's California Adventure, Cars Land's Cozy Cone Motel, I guess it was called. But yeah, it was just food in a cone with a little wrapper. It was the handwich from Epcot Reborn. The
handwich, I forgot about that. I just love to have been a fly in the wall when the cone sandwich was invented. Like, you think someone was eating ice cream and said, what would be good in this cone?
Yeah, roast
meatballs. Roast beef, meatballs, maybe a little just coleslaw.
Dump out the ice cream and stuff some chili and Fritos in there. You're good to go. That's the one that's so good at Disney Springs, in Disneyland is the one the chili cone carne at the Cozy Cone in DCA has. It's chili, Fritos, and cheese. It is phenomenal.
I one of the things that I'm famous for, among many things, is my ability to stain my clothes. Like, I have a feeling that if I tried the cone shaped food, I just destroy my clothes. Just stuff would be spilling out all over me. It'd be a hot mess.
But what you could do is
seagulls will chase me around the parks.
I was going to say, if you get it on the bottom half of your shirt, you could cut your shirt into a half shirt and show the abs off as you're walking around the park.
Yeah, show the abs off like Ogre from Revenge of the Nerds.
I mean, we're
go to the face paint booth and say, "Can you paint on some 6-pack abs on this atrocity that is my abdomen?"
They spray paint them for you. The airbrush. You and me, man. We'll both do it on my next trip.
There we go. That'll be something that'll be a souvenir for a lot of tourists walking through.
Or the ladies.
Look at these for the ladies.
While our wives go and hide in Trendy and go shopping.
Yeah, and search for divorce lawyers on Yelp.
Oh man, we're really getting off the rails. All right, man. I think it's your turn, right, for your next one.
Yeah.
Is this?
Well, hey, you did it again, man. You dovetailed so nicely into just what I was talking about, because my next thing on my list was nighttime entertainment.
Nice.
Talking about us trotting around with crop tops. There's some nighttime entertainment at Disney Springs is pretty darn awesome now. I don't know the exact numbers, and I don't know if anyone really knows the exact numbers, but I've heard that it's somewhere, in a given week, it'd be like around 20 different acts you can see. Just, it's all free. I mean, just walking through the different areas of the different promenades throughout the property right there. They'll have little sections set up. Some are kind of small and kind of tight knit. Others are a little bit bigger stages where you can sit down and relax and watch. And they rotate the musicians in and out. And it's a really interesting mix. So when you think about, what's a good example? I don't know. Like, if you might go into any kind of like open air market or something, you might see a guy playing the guitar, and they have a couple of acts that will come in and just straight up, a couple acoustic guitars and sing and do the thing, which is good. But they also have a lot of really unique entertainers that are coming through there, which I think we may have talked about on a past podcast, like the Didgeridoo guy. He's amazing. And there's a guy that does like flamenco style guitar, and he starts like swinging the guitar all around, and it's a pretty awesome show that he puts on. There's some folks who do like some classical style. They look like a little classical trio, like all penguin suits and all that kind of stuff. But they kind of amped it up and jazzed up the music a little bit, so it's a little more contemporary. Really neat stuff. So I like it because if you're somebody who goes there with your kids, I think giving your kids a chance to experience live music is a really amazing gift. And, if you sit down and tell them, all right, put your earbuds in and listen to a song, it's hard to do. But if you give them a chance to sit down and watch somebody perform, and especially if it's something like that where it's very high energy, really cool music, then you can tell they're engaged with it. So it's a nice little break from kind of all of the sensory overload stuff that comes with, places like the Lego store and, things like that. They can kind of sit there and zone out and really just get into the music. So a lot of those acts are usually in the evening hours, like, I don't know, 6:30 or ish. There are a couple or a few that will do some midday type acts. I've got a friend who does do some guitar work over there and plays in a little duet every now and then. And he'll do like morning, like 10 a.m. sets over there. So you see most of the acts are usually in the evening hours. But if you're the kind of person who wants to be there in the morning or midday hours, which is when it's nice and quiet and calm, and then even in the early afternoon, you can still find some of the acts going through there. So it's a neat little way to break it up. It's very unique stuff and a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it's cool that they have like the live music over there. That's something that I don't want to say when it was Downtown Disney it lacked, because it had it. Well, it did lack it. It had it at Pleasure Island, where they would have live music on the stage and in the different clubs and stuff at night. But Downtown Disney itself was pretty much just a kind of a shopping and district with restaurants, and there wasn't a whole lot going on as far as live acts.
But even then, you had to like go into one of the clubs, like House of Blues. You still have to get a ticket. Like here, It's just there. It's like just out and about. It's very accessible.
Yeah, it kind of feels like, and I always bring this up, but it kind of feels like Disneyland a little bit, where there's that live kind of element. There's that living, like breathing element to the park, to the music, I like that. I like when you walk around, you don't know what you're going to have every night, unless you're crazy like me, you look at the schedule or you figure it out. But you can walk and find different, bands, different kinds of music, all at different, like you were saying, they rotate them around. So you don't know what you're going to get when you're there on a given night, but you will get, something. You'll get some kind of live music. It's pretty cool.
And should we make a quick reference to the man, the myth, the legend also?
I think
who's often.
You should, yes.
So real quick, there's a guy that I just learned about maybe a year or so ago. He's referred to as Ferrari Guy, but the videos and everything I've read about him, he goes by the name Eddie Maserati, but they call him Ferrari Guy. If you're a car person, you'll see the irony there. He is oftentimes seen hanging out in where the live acts are going on, just dancing away. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, do a quick search for Ferrari Guy Disney Springs, and you'll find a whole bunch of stuff on him. One of the nicest guys ever. If you have a chance to just walk up and say hi to him, he loves to chat with people. He's so friendly, such a nice guy. But he's a hoot. He is so fun to watch. He's all done up and he's really awesome. Like, I don't even know how to describe his outfits. He's a spectacle. Like
fancy.
I literally, if I go to Disney Springs in the evening hours, that's one of the things I want to see. Like, hey, let's go walk the promenade and see if Ferrari Guy's here. And I promise I'm going to do my best. I'm going to see if we can score Ferrari like an exclusive. Like I don't think he's ever been on a podcast before.
I've looked for him on podcasts and I haven't.
All right, let's make that happen. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.
Mr. Maserati, if you're listening out there,
we'll get him.
Shoot me an email at phil@eartotheretravel.com and we'll, I'd love to have you on and talk to you. And from what I understand, his last name is actually Maserati. Like he's a member of the Maserati family, which is
yet he drives a Ferrari, and I've seen pictures of him in front of a Lamborghini too.
Yeah, he owns several from what I've read and
the myth, the urban legend.
Yeah, he owns several exotic car dealerships around the Central Florida area.
Yeah, all right, man. That's my mission. I'm going to see if I can sweet talk him into getting on the podcast. We're going to make that happen. That's going to be something that's like my personal mission here.
All right, so that'll have to be a 3-guy episode because if he starts talking about cars, from my Mitch Hedberg quotes earlier in the podcast, I will have a lot of trouble keeping up with that. So
or I won't have my mic lit, and I'll just like text you when he says something like, "Oh, no, what he's talking about is." It's a 12-cylinder overhead cant.
I'm already. You said cylinder. I was thinking, well, my wife keeps the flour in on my counter in our kitchen, so I'm out.
Yeah, he's talking about mid-engines, not front engines.
Oh my god, I didn't know what any of that is. All right, so wait, so that was your 4th, right? Or was that your 5th?
Yeah, that was number 4 for me.
All right, so I do have 2 more. So okay. I'm going to go with one. We're pushing in on the 2 episode thing here, so I don't want to go too crazy on this one. So I want to go with, you know what? I'm going to kind of.
Hey man, these things are free. These people aren't paying by the minute.
I have to edit that out. No, I'm leaving it in. I'm kind of going to go with the live entertainment route that you went with your last one, and I'm going to see. This is perfect. We are kind of just. We're flowing on this one.
Yeah, man.
I'm going to go with my next one. It's another restaurant/bar. That's kind of all I have on this list. And I'm going Raglan Road for a couple of reasons. One, my kids love Raglan Road. They love the Irish step dancers.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never seen Irish step dancing, that's like an art form. It's so cool to watch them. Like we go, the food's really good. The beer selection's great. But the dancers they're amazing what they can do. And what I really, really like about it is they invite, even if you're sitting inside or you're sitting in one of the outside areas they have now, they invite kids to dance with them and they teach them the steps. And it's just a really, really cool thing with these girls and guys from Ireland who were teaching your kids how to Irish step dance. Now listen, our last trip, my kids were, 3 and 5. So they don't exactly, they don't get the steps. They just got to jump in place for, 30 to 50 seconds. And the dancers make them feel like they were perfect. And they hug them and they while they're doing it, they play the music, they show them how to do it. And when the dance is over, they hug them, they give them their like honorary Irish step dancing, stickers for their shirts. And it's really, really cool. I love that part of the restaurant. But if you've ever been, to it, I've been to Ireland. It's, Raglan Road is a supersized Irish pub is kind of what it is. The food is pretty authentic. The beer is very authentic. The size of the pub is not authentic at all. They don't have pubs like that in Ireland. They're not that big, but the decor and the look and everything and the feel, it's all, like the hand carved woods and the mismatched chairs. And I was saying I was a server earlier. I worked the guy who designed the menu, the executive chef for Raglan Road was the same guy who designed the menu for an Irish pub that I worked in Philadelphia. His name's Kevin Dundon, and he's the guy who did the menu. He's been on things like the Today Show and Rachel Ray and all those shows. His food's phenomenal, and I think the food there is really, really good. For me, the scallop forest as an appetizer, they bring out these scallops in like this like metal tray, and each scallop is on an upside down fork with these big metal forks, and you have to like take the fork out that has a scallop on it. I don't know why, it's just the design. It's pretty cool, but The scallops are phenomenal, and they have for dinner. I always either get the fish and chips or the bangers and booze, and which is like the sausage that is glazed in like a Guinness glaze. Oh man, it's awesome. So yeah. Anyway, everything is very, very authentic about it. Like I said, except the size of it. But I guess it has to be because it's pretty busy there every single night. So I really love the place. My kids love it. We go almost every trip. So,
and that little outdoor seating area that they put out there now, because it didn't used to be that way because of the way the setup was with Pleasure Island,
right?
And now that the way they've kind of reconstructed everything, they have that nice little outdoor kind of terrace area. Now that right now we're recording in late October, it's just gorgeous out. It's just such a nice place to sit and hang out now. And I've talked to some friends of mine who are really hardcore into beer, and I've had a lot of people say that the beer selection there is top notch and maybe one of their favorite spots if you're really, really into beer. One of the best spots to grab some good quality beer in Disney.
It is. They have a really cool Irish beer flight. It has like 4 or 5 different kinds of Irish beer. They bring it out in a little wooden, tray, and you get to try. They're, kind of small. I think they're like 6 or 8 ounce beers. But it's funny as you say how nice the weather is now. The last time I went was end of May, and I made the mistake. They only had outdoor seating, so we sat outside. And there's not a whole lot of, when you sit there late afternoon, there's not a whole lot of shade. And I got the Irish beer flight, and within less than 60 seconds, every beer was like boiling in the sun. And
yeah.
It's just me because we were there with Chuck Rodriguez, who's also on this podcast a lot, he'll drink an occasional beer, but he had like a raspberry kind of, fruity kind of beer. And then there's me with like 4 or 5 Irish beers that are boiling in the sun. And I spent like $20 on the flight, so I'd like drink them as fast as possible.
You're drinking them like they're shot glasses.
Yeah, I enjoyed Raglan Road a little more than I normally do that night. I have to tell you, those beers went down kind of quickly. But yeah, anyway, Raglan Road for me, it's a great place to go.
It's so, man, we're just like in the zone like right now, because my next one, my number 5 on my list, guess what, man? It's time for me to talk food. And you gave me a nice little segue there. But what I wanted to talk about with food for my choice was, I think they've done a really brilliant job in mixing what you can get there. So obviously there's the high end stuff. We talked about Boathouse. Another high end like STK is kind of high end. Even Morimoto Asia is kind of high end. They also have obviously some quick grab churros or pretzels, things like that. But what I think is really remarkable, and this is my choice, is kind of that small bite, like quick service kind of stuff, kind of like what you'd see in like the Food and Wine Festival. Or Flower and Garden Festival now is doing a lot of it over in Epcot. There's a lot of that has been integrated into Disney Springs. So like they have these little standalone kind of kiosk, little standalone buildings. Like there's one that has just poutine dishes, like the classic poutine. And they have a couple of others that they've kind of fancied up and made interesting. Morimoto has like its own little like offshoot, like they call it Morimoto Asia Street Food, kind of like a walk-up counter where you can get some cool small bite things that are very similar to things that are on the menu for the actual restaurant. The food trucks, like over on the west side, they have the food trucks set up over there, which when they're all going, they have like one that kind of represents each of the theme parks, and some of the signature things from each of the theme parks. There's BB Wolf's, it's kind of like a sausage place. There's a cool little gelato place. I don't want to say this on the recording, a little thing about that spot, but it's cool. It's super authentic gelato. Couple of neat little like chocolatier kind of like pastry kind of places. Sprinkles cupcakes. People, believe the hype. Sprinkles is good. Again, gosh, we need to do like a man podcast that like where I can. We tried that though. Jeez. I totally lost my man card on that one. So the Sprinkles cupcakes, I had a couple of friends come over to my house and bring some over. And I had never tried them before that, and I thought, oh, it's just a lot of hype, just the LA thing, and they had the cupcake ATM, and I thought whatever. And then they brought me, I was like, oh no, these are legit, these are good. They're definitely worth the price, and they were good. They're nice little treats to have. Which I don't know if you've seen the cupcake ATM or not.
Yeah.
When they first set up, they still have like the ropes set up, there's like a massive line to go to use the ATM. They have like the little video that shows the machine getting the cupcake. I was kind of joking, thinking, hey, I wonder if it's the same video every time. It's just, there's no real machine doing that. It's just a person back there just like sliding it in. But they had the video playing like, ooh, we got this like warehouse of cupcakes this thing is getting yanked out of.
Meanwhile, this dude sitting on a stool just sliding back and forth,
yeah,
slamming a cupcake in the box.
He's like, 5 minutes left to break. Get these things going. But no, but that's what I think is interesting is that, kind of we talked about this with Earl of Sandwich a little bit ago, in that, if you want to kind of explore different options, you can try different experiences from a food perspective and from a beverage perspective. It's great because like before, it was kind of like you had to commit. Like you had to commit to one place, and like you go sit down at the House of Blues and have dinner, or Rainforest Cafe and have dinner. And these were places where you get these massive meals. There's no way you would think about getting anything else. But this way you can kind of snack your way through your day or your evening and try some really cool, interesting things. So I think that's that. I don't know if they did this on purpose. I'm guessing they did, because I don't think they do a lot by accident there. But I think there's been such a huge popularity with Food and Wine, and obviously because that's what the Flower and Garden Festival has kind of become. It's like a miniature food and wine festival. I think Disney realizes, hey, people dig this. They like getting these small bites and kind of portable food that they can cruise around with and make it of a quality and of a variety in terms of experience that makes it interesting to them. I think that's really neat because that's definitely a departure from the downtown Disney of old.
Yeah, man, I agree. A couple things I wanted to kind of hit on from what you said. The first thing is I've never had poutine before. I've seen it on TV on like the Travel Channel or the Food Network, and I've heard about it, and I've got to try it now that the stand is at downtown Disney. It looks like it's something that'd be like right up my alley. So I really have to give it a shot. The other thing I was thinking is, you were mentioning the food trucks. That was on my honorable mention list. The one really cool thing about the food trucks that are in Exposition Park is the Fantasy Fair truck. Yeah, it has the Disneyland corn dog.
Yep.
So that's one thing is it's the hand dipped corn dog, the exact same one they sell in Disneyland and in California Adventure, which a lot of people I've had. Anyway, people, it's the same corn dog at Corn Dog Castle in California Adventure as it is in the Little Red Wagon at Disneyland, but people have gotten upset with me when I said that, but I have had that on good authority. But anyway,
I've always kind of said that, if I, win the Powerball or, like cash in on the American Dream, get a good slip and fall lawsuit. I want to like outfit my house. I don't want to have like TVs everywhere. I want to have like in the kitchen, like a churro machine and then another station for corn dogs. Just let's say, you really go for it. Let me go dip one down and fry it up. Like that's baller, man.
Yeah.
You forget like the basketball court in your house and the 17 cars. No, I got a churro machine. I got a corn dog station.
I always wanted a hockey rink. Like open up like that surprise room. Like on Cribs when Shaq opened up like the room off his laundry room. And he had like this and he had like the full court, like NBA basketball court, and it was like all his jerseys were up on the wall, and he had like, the bleachers and like a Gatorade like station. I always wanted to open up that little surprise door that nobody knew was there, and there's like a full size hockey rink in there. That would be cool.
Dude, Shaq is now a donut entrepreneur. Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. He so he has the house here in Orlando.
Yeah.
And but I think he also lives in Atlanta too. And he bought like a Krispy Kreme franchise there, and now he's like the spokesman of Krispy Kreme. That's like a bucket list kind of thing, like to attain the level of like Krispy Kreme spokesman.
He made so much money in the NBA, and he had a ton of endorsements. I mean, that guy Man, he's smart. He played his cards right. He knows.
And he's funny, which I think to be funny, you have to be smart.
Yeah, of course.
And he's got a good wit.
I mean, look at me.
I know. I mean,
Yeah,
what
right.
are you cranking? Like, what are you doing? Like 160, 170 on the IQ?
Yeah, I don't know.
180?
I don't know. What was it, like 85?
That was like Einstein's like 160 or something like that.
It was like 70 or 80. All right, so I gotta get to my
You
last
could be
one.
like Ferrari guy. Yeah, my last name's Maserati. Or you could be like, yeah, I got triple digit IQ.
Yeah. Either way, it's a good pickup line. Good first one.
Yeah. Because who's going to verify that? It's not like you have that on your driver's license. No one's going to call you on it.
Yeah, but they might.
Here,
They might ask
take
the
this
Maserati
intelligence
guy.
test. Take this intelligence test. Let me pull my iPhone here. No.
I have to say, thank God I got married when I did, because if I was, I mean, at this age, when I completely owned up to my Disney nerdery and all that, I wouldn't have a chance. Back then, I hid it. Anyway, I got to get to my last one. So my last one, it is my turn, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
My last one. Okay. Here's the thing: is I was way prepared for you to steal like 4 of mine, so I have a couple left, but I'm going to go with my favorite thing about Disney Springs, and it's Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar, which I'm sure you saw coming.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be in there.
Yeah, and I knew I was like, he's going to let me have this one, so
Yeah.
I'm glad he did. Listen, I love Indiana Jones. For people who don't know who Jock Lindsay is, he was a character in Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, or as it was originally known, just Raiders of the Lost Ark. And in the beginning of the movie, when after Indiana Jones, he finds the golden idol, and he's running from the natives, and he's yelling at this guy to start up the plane and take off, and he's saying, Jock, start the plane, Jock, and that's actually Jock Lindsay, and he's a pilot. So the story is that he has this little waterfront place where he docks his plane, and it becomes a bar. It's a hangar, obviously, and he converts it to Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar. And inside it's a predominantly a bar, but it serves some food, appetizers and small plates. And it's you're not going to go in and get a full meal there, but the decor when you walk in is just complete Indiana Jones. Oh my God. I remember you and I were there. It was the first time I had seen it, I think. And I walked in and I was like, oh my God, I never want to leave. Everything on the walls just points to a different moment or a different line in the Indiana Jones movies. I would say trilogy. I know there's 4 of the movies. So many people hate Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. I like it. I don't love it. I love the other 3. But yeah, they even had like these from the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. There's this part where there's these voodoo dolls of Indiana Jones, Short Round, and Wilhelmina Scott that are tortured by this kid in the movie. Anyway, they have them up on the wall behind the bar at Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar. When I saw those, I was like, all right, Disney Imagineers paid attention to what what Indiana Jones fans really wanted. It's such a Indiana Jones nerd out bar. It's so cool. And they have there's like I said, there's tons of nods to the movies all over the place. The drinks they have a Reggie's Revenge. Reggie was Jock Lindsay's snake that was in the plane. Not snakes on a plane with Samuel L. Jackson, but the snake in a plane in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And now I'm thinking of it. It's like, get these bleeping snakes off the bleeping plane. But then they have the rolling boulder sliders, which is kind of cool. All the food is like, and the drinks are puns. They're all Indiana Jones puns. They have the good dates. If you're an Indiana Jones fan, you know that there's bad dates in the Raiders of the Lost Ark movie. So yeah, it's just a really cool place. Good beer, good food, very different kind of drinks. Kind of like Trader Sam's. The drinks are original. They're very cool. They have some souvenir glasses that you can get. Not as many as Trader Sam's, but some. So yeah, I think that's my favorite new place at Disney Springs.
You know how most of those movies, they need to be financed before they can be filmed and distributed and all that stuff?
Sure.
I love to have been a fly on the wall when they were trying to pitch Snakes on a Plane. Like, guys, I'm going to pitch you this movie. It's called Snakes on a Plane. Get out of here. Sam Jackson signed on. Go on.
Yeah. Dude, you know what? That movie's horrible and so much fun at the same time.
Yeah,
but
Jock Lindsay's, man, I like that choice, and I did know you were going to choose it. And when we got this deep into the list. It's like, man, maybe he's not going to choose it. But it's, I think, a quintessential Disney Springs hangout now, because what you're seeing now with the new way everything is set up, it's amazing theming. Like, you know how you and I have talked about this, how one of the things that makes Walt Disney World such an amazing place is how they tell stories and how they theme experiences so that you feel like you're in that experience. You feel like, you're the Jungle Cruise. You feel like you are going to go on an excursion through the rivers and go out into the jungle and things like that. They're doing that now with Disney Springs in such a beautiful way. So it really is a cool destination to hang out. And look, I'm one of those people who says, if I see a restaurant where I'm traveling, I'm going to see something, or go experience a restaurant I've never been to, and it says, "Oh, amazing view! This is the best view in town." I say, "All right, I don't want to go there because I know the food's not going to meet. The experience isn't necessarily going to meet up to the fact that it's just in a beautiful spot. Like, I want to eat good food. I don't care where it is, if it's in a dump or a dive. But they've done this thing where I think it's an amazing balance between a great experience and just beautiful places, and also having great food and beverage programs to back it. So it's a really difficult thing to do both simultaneously, in my opinion. You don't see it that often, I guess I should say. But that's a cornerstone to what they've done with Disney Springs. And Jock Lindsay's is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, man, you're right. You hit it right in the head, and that's exactly what it is. It's a Disney Springs now is a place where you go, and you kind of expect that. You expect the theming, and it's cohesive too. It's not just like, I feel like when it was Downtown Disney, even there would be one restaurant next to something else, and it didn't make sense. Now the theme, it kind of fits. Everything kind of fits together really nicely. And Jock Lindsay's, when it's set in the 40s or 30s or 40s, same as Boathouse, and it's really close by to Boathouse. They're both in the kind of the same time frame, so they fit nicely near each other. It's cool the way they did it. They retooled that area into a place where, like we said at the beginning of the podcast, you can go, you can spend a day, you can spend a couple of days there really and not see everything. It's very, very cool. And again, as a big Indiana Jones fan, that place, I couldn't leave it off my list. I love it. I wish we had more Indiana Jones in the parks in Walt Disney World. But who knows? Maybe with the whole Lucasfilms thing, maybe that'll happen.
Wait a minute. You have to edit this out in post. I have this. Oh, this is brilliant, man. This. Oh goodness, I'm shocked at how brilliant this is. When you're seeing the 30s and 40s, I was thinking, you know what you could do? You could do like this bounce back thing. Like when you have your clients who are in Walt Disney World and you call them up and say, hey, bounce back offer, 30% off of my services if you rebook with me right now. That's 30% off the personalized itinerary, 30% off, what I charge for booking the hotels and tickets, 30% off what I charge for all the fast pass bookings, 30% off dining reservations, the whole shebang. I don't know. Is 30% like too aggressive? Could you like take that off your services?
Well, I think you're confused a little bit because
was that too much? Like 20% maybe? I mean, I don't want to take you out at the knees.
I gotta say, I so appreciate the plug every time. It works so well. I don't know if you know this, but my services are completely free for everyone who books through me.
What? Wait. That's free? All that work you do?
All that work is free. Yes.
Holy smokes!
I know. It's very hard to believe, and
I just fell off my yoga ball, man.
And you lost more man points as you fell off. But yeah, it's always free. Everything I do.
That's amazing. You do that for free. Holy smokes!
Yeah. Amazingly, my services are free. The podcast, as you mentioned, is also free. So if anybody wants to donate, no, I'm kidding. But yeah, it's free and it's fun. And I really like doing it. And I always say, I want people to have the same experience that I would have if you're going to the parks. I don't want you to go in like a rookie or like someone who doesn't have any information. I make sure you have the information that you're going to need going on a Walt Disney World vacation. That's kind of like my main goal with my clients. So
Well, and hey, you know what? Even if you're not a rookie, I've had I had some friends that I referred you who aren't rookies. They're pros. They are hardcore pros who have been to the park since they were kids. And I said, hey, you gotta hook up with this guy, and he'll really take care of you. So they did, and they said it was just such an amazing experience to just sit back, relax, and whatever the rest of the spiel is they normally do on the rides, and just have you take care of all that stuff for them, and they could really just say, you know what? No, we're going to just relax and enjoy the experience of just getting prepared for the trip and not have to stress over all that stuff. And yeah, so I mean, thank you for taking care of them, and I think that's such an amazing service you offer.
Thanks, man, and thank you for pointing them my way. Yeah, as I say in the beginning of the podcast, it's my job. What do I say? It's my job to take away the stress, the anxiety, and the time that it takes to plan a Disney trip. And it's true, it does take a lot of time. It takes an awful lot of, long amount of time to set up and book and do your fast passes and your dining reservations and make your payments and set up the Magical Express and even, shop for the best deal and all that stuff. And I do all that. And it's, I've gotten good at it. I know what I'm doing at this point. In the beginning, those poor people that took trips. No, I'm kidding. But no, I know what I'm doing. They just paid. I didn't know what I was doing. Nah, honestly, I've known what I was doing for day one. I was trained well, and I know what I'm doing. I find it a challenge to get the best price for people, and to, I always say it's my job to get repeat clients. I'm not in it to make, a mint off of a client. I want you to have a great time and then tell your friends and come back and use me again. So, well, and it can be
it can be an overwhelming experience. There's a lot to do to plan for one of these vacations. And I think people kind of don't really realize how much there is to do. Because, if you think about, hey, I want to go take a trip to Vegas and do some gambling. You set up your airfare, your hotel, and then it's kind of there. You just kind of walk around
in and hand them your money.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot. Yeah, just say, here's my credit card. Let me go ahead and do you a favor. I'm going to go ahead and cut it up now.
I heard Lewis Black, the comedian, does a great bit where he says, you want to know what it's like to go to Vegas. Just go to your hotel. Don't even go to the casino. Sit at your toilet and flush quarters down the toilet. He's like, and every once in a while, that toilet will back up and all the quarters will come out and you'll be a winner.
Yeah, I had this thing where I had all my friends would say, oh yeah, I went to Vegas over the weekend and came back with $5,000 in my pocket. A lot of those kinds of stories. And I think, wow, man, these guys are really good. And so I went to Vegas one time and I just happened to be talking to one of the locals and I was telling him, I don't know, maybe I hang with some really hardcore gamblers, but I don't see how I'm not coming back with $5,000 in my pocket. That's for sure. And he said, that's because they're lying to you. They didn't build the Bellagio and the Venetian by letting people come home with $5,000 in their pocket.
Yeah, they don't build paradise in the middle of the desert.
Yeah,
because they're in the business of losing money. No,
yeah, but it's the exact opposite. I mean, it's such a simplistic trip to plan. Coming to Walt Disney World, there's a lot to think about, and it's cool that somebody could have you as a resource to kind of walk them through that process and make it so much easier, and not have to pay. Man, you don't charge them. Holy smokes!
I know. Thanks, man. Thank you for the plug. It's always greatly appreciated, and yeah, it's a fun job, and I hope if you're listening, just when you call, when you email, you will get right now, at least in 2016, you'll talk to me, so it's pretty cool. Hey man, so thank you again for coming on and doing this with me. We're a little under an hour and a half. So
man, we were flying through that.
So with editing, I'm still going to make this a 1-part episode because I think it just kind of flowed and it went well, and I don't want to break it up. So yeah, so thank you to everyone who's listening because I appreciate your patience, but I hope you were entertained. This was a fun one to do. So thanks, man.
Hope you were entertained, and hopefully your phone was plugged in. Drain your battery.
Yeah, right. So thanks again, man. So if anyone is looking for what the one and only Johnny Shortsleeve is up to these days, where can they go to find out more about you?
The one and only John. Well, I've talked about the Facebook thing. You can find me, search Johnny Shortsleeve on there. Come hang out with me. And you want to hang out with me on Instagram, it's Johnny Shortsleeve there as well. And then, but Twitter, it's only John Shortsleeve. Those goofballs over Twitter have that 15 character limit. I couldn't fit my whole name in there. So it's just John, John Shortsleeve over
Takes
there.
a little bit away from it, doesn't it?
Oh man, it kind of bums me out. Getting all formal on Twitter.
You sound like a duke, Mr. John Shortsleeve. All right, man. Well, thank you again for doing this. This is a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to the next time we can record.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Ear to There podcast. Thank you, as always, to my friend and co-host today, Johnny Shortsleeve. And thank you for listening. I know this episode got a little bit on the long side, but we had a lot of fun. I didn't want to break it up into 2 episodes. So I hope you were sitting somewhere comfortable as you listen to it. And if you did enjoy the podcast, please just tell someone about it. As I always say, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your cousin, tell your aunt, tell your uncle. Anyone you know who would enjoy a Disney podcast, please let them know about it. I'd really appreciate that. And just remember, there will be a new episode of the Ear to There podcast each and every Monday morning, as well as a new episode of the Ear to There podcast Walt Disney World Word of the Week each and every Wednesday morning. So until next time, thank you so much again for listening. Have a great week. Bye-bye.